Ken Davidoff is with us right now, and he's going to tell us why he thinks Mike Piazza is not
And in fairness, he
Hall of
does
Famer.
deserve a chance to defend himself
Well, we're
since
going to
we
give him
beat
that
him up
before
for the
I
last
start
5
yelling at
minutes.
him. So go ahead, Ken. Tell us why Piazza is not a Hall of Famer.
Well, guys, thanks
Hi.
for giving me the time.
How you doing?
Go ahead. I'm not saying another word. Go.
All right, give me 45 seconds and you can go crazy, okay?
Go.
All right.
All right, I did my ballot based on statistical analysis, based on some of the more advanced measures. By that measure, my conclusion was Mike Piazza, while a worthy Hall of Famer, was not among my top 10 candidates this year. That's why I turned in the ballot you guys are discussing. Upon further discussion afterwards with many people I respect in the statistical analysis community, I realized I screwed up, and I owned up to that mistake 2 days ago on my blog on the New York Post.
Wow. So if you could do it again, you would have voted for Piazza.
Yes.
And who would you have taken off your ballot?
Probably Kenny Lofton or Edgar Martinez or Larry Walker, one of those three.
Here's what I don't get, Ken. I don't understand. And I know you. You know, I know. Look, I know you're a long time. You
apparently don't know me long enough to not take shots at my integrity.
Well,
so.
I take shots at it.
You can rip my intelligence all you want.
Well, I don't know, but here's the thing, though. I mean, I don't understand how, because I always look at it this way, all right? Is he or is he not? Throw the name at me, boom, Hall of Famer or not. My first reaction generally to me is, the right reaction. He either is or he isn't. I mean, when you say Mike Piazza, there was even a thought in your mind. If you take the steroid cloud off it, there was even a thought in your mind that this guy's not a Hall of Famer? That's what I don't understand.
Well, I will view your approach as the anti-intellectual approach, Joe. I believe in actually looking at statistics. I believe in examining. I believe in putting aside my firsthand observations and emotions and analyzing. And I screwed up. But I defend my process.
Okay, but at least you're admitting that you made a mistake here, so I give you credit for that.
Well, thank you, and I give your producer credit for reaching out to me after you guys attacked my integrity.
Oh, no, we said that right away.
Well, we said we want to get you on.
Right away, we said, let's get Ken Davidoff on. It wasn't, let's just attack Ken Davidoff. It was, let's get him on so we can attack him to his face. That was really the plan.
Yeah, we like to do that,
That's
Ken.
the way things go. It should go.
Yes.
And here you are.
Let me tell you what I like about your ballot, since all we've done is attack you. You know what I like about your ballot? You didn't hold steroids against these guys. You went Bonds.
Right.
You went Clemens.
Right.
You went Bagwell, who may have there's a little cloud.
Right.
And you said you would have went Piazza if you could fix it. So the steroids did not bother you on this ballot.
That's why the ballot was so weird, because you had these big steroid guys on there, but not Piazza. That's the reason why it jumped out. You know what I mean, Ken?
Joe, we've known each other, 16, 17
At least
years?
that.
And you're questioning that I have a personal issue with Mike Piazza?
Well, I'm not saying you do, but I mean,
crazy.
I understand that. But sometimes I think, and I'm not saying you can. I'm not saying that you do. Obviously, you're telling me you don't. And now I understand why you did what you did. You're telling us now. But I think that there are writers out there, and I'm not saying you, and I'm not saying just Piazza, that have had personal reasons for guys who were obvious Hall of Famers, but they didn't vote for them because they didn't like them. I mean, I think that's fair to say. Would you agree with that or not?
100%.
Let me ask you this. Okay, now we've got a group of people here. Joe is a guy who says, I don't want to hear about advanced statistics. I don't like war.
God,
I don't want to
stop.
hear about it.
Stop.
Okay? Then we have a group of people that love the advanced statistics. Ken, I'm in the middle. I think some of them are good. I don't like war, but I like looking at different categories than what we have looked at 15, 20 years ago. So I'm in the middle on this. So explain to me what statistical analysis you looked at where your first impression was, I'm not putting Piazza in over guys like Kenny Lofton and Tim Raines and Alan Trammell. What did you see that you didn't like?
Most specifically, WAR, having a wins above replacement, because Piazza doesn't quite match those guys. But after further review, and what I honestly screwed up on was you have to give catchers a little more of a nudge, because the grind of the position doesn't allow them to play as frequently as the guys of the other positions. WAR does account for positional value. That's why I like it, but not quite enough to fully give Piazza the justice.
Don't you think the WAR is a flawed stat? Like, it's not a great indicator.
What's the perfect stat, Evan? Give me the perfect stat.
I don't think there is a perfect stat, but I don't think the WAR stat... I mean, first of all, isn't it true that the WAR stat is different based on who's calculating it? Like, there's no one like RBIs, it's you have how many that's your RBIs.
It's cut and dry.
Your OPS is your OPS.
Right.
This is a statistic that's different based on whatever website you go to, right?
Yeah, but I assume you have like a mom or a grandma who made apple pie as a kid. That's different than my mom's apple pie recipe, but they're both delicious.
That was an interesting comparison. I don't know. I don't even know how to respond to that.
Ken, doesn't WAR take defense into account? because I pay no attention to that stat. So
Congratulations, Joe.
But I'm just saying. But I mean, it does take defense into account, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because right there, Piazza's, look, we all know he was a terrible defensive catcher, so that's going to hurt him.
Yeah. And why shouldn't it?
Well, because. Well, how many catchers are in the Hall of Fame based on their defense?
How many catchers in the? Well, I think Johnny Bench.
Yeah, but hold on a minute. But they also were guys who could hit. I mean, if those guys couldn't hit, if those guys were Jerry Grody as a hitters, they're not in the Hall of Fame.
You're losing me on the logic here, Joe. What's your logic?
My logic is that you still that the catchers that are in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I know Johnny Bench might have been the greatest defensive catcher. He's the best catcher I ever saw. But he also was a guy that could hit. And if he wasn't getting in just on his defense alone. That's my point.
Okay, but I mean, so the point is that Mike Piazza, the defense hurt his candidacy a little bit.
Last thing,
I guess.
You just said he was terrible, Joe.
He was, but again. We're not looking. No catcher is in the Hall of Fame just because he was a great defensive catcher, and that's it. There is none.
Doesn't make any sense, Joe. Whatever you're smoking, pass it this way.
Well, I don't see how it's not making any sense. Jerry Grody, Johnny Bench once said the greatest defensive catcher he ever saw was Jerry Grody. Is he a Hall of Famer?
No, but
that's
if
my
you're
point.
Talking about every player, you consider everything. Then Mike Piazza, offensively, he's a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, and defensively, he's what, a 3 or a 4?
But do you understand my point? But you understand what I'm saying, though? There's no catcher in the Hall of Fame that couldn't hit. That's my point. I don't care how good they were defensively. If they couldn't hit,
does that have to do with Mike Piazza's defense hurting his candidacy a little bit?
Well, I'm just saying that it's more about hitting than it is defense. That's my point.
Okay.
That's my point. Is that fair to say?
That's not the point you were making 30 seconds ago.
I think it was. I thought it was.
I don't know anymore. Ken, thank you very much for coming on.
Appreciate
and by
it.
the way, let me give you the right plug here because we were confused. The New York Post. Ken Davidoff of the New York Post.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
Good Lord, guys.
We were debating where you worked. We forgot. I'm sorry.
See you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Bye.
Be well.
So we've ticked off 2 writers today.
First,
it was John Heyman, and now it was Ken Davidoff.
Was I not making my point clear, though, about offense? Because I don't know. Maybe I wasn't.
His point was defense hurts him. That's the simple point.
But my point was there's no catcher that couldn't hit that's in the Hall of Fame.
Right, but his point is it takes away from him because he wasn't a great defensive catcher or even a good defensive catcher. Okay. Look, he admitted right off the top if he could do it again, he would have voted for Mike Piazza. Here's the difference.
I'm taking him all off today.
And I get the idea that no statistic is perfect. It's true. We can watch a guy. But I just don't see. I look at WAR every single year with all these different guys, and most of the time it lies to me on who's having the better year. And I'm watching all these guys, and I see a guy's WAR, and I compare it to what the other guys' WARs are, and it's completely off to me most of the time.
You know what the problem I have? Is that with all these dumb new stats, it's almost like these guys have to reinvent the wheel.
Some of them are good, though.
I guess, but it's almost like reinventing the wheel.
I'm open-minded.
You know what
some
I mean?
of them are good, but some of them, every year when I look at WAR and I compare it to the guy's WAR to other guys' WARs, most of the time I end up looking at it saying, wait a second, that doesn't even make any sense. And again, when you go to different websites and there are different WAR numbers, that's a concern for me.
Bet you Sean Green's WAR was high.
Maybe according to this person who voted for him.
He had a high WAR.